What is good, everyone? I hope you're having a very good week. Oh boy, Halo news aplenty to talk about. So we learned this last week, some pretty big stuff for Halo Infinite, and I want to share my take on it here. So, moving forward, Halo Infinite is not going to have new seasons. We're shifting to content updates and operations. The first live stream of the year happened a few days ago. Had Unishek, Sketch, Tashi, and a few others talking about a bunch of cool stuff. New operations, new armor, new ranked updates, the HCS roadmap, easy anti-cheat coming to Halo Infinite sometime this year. But the item that's getting all the attention was made at the end, where Sketch shared that moving forward, we're shifting to a content update model. Very similar to Halo MCC if you were playing that game in the years leading up to Halo Infinite. So instead of getting Season 6 here in a week, we're getting Content Update 29. Even Sketch made a little bit of a joke that it doesn't really like roll off the tongue in terms of like marketing prowess. It doesn't sizzle, but it gives them a chance to, move into this new era for Halo Infinite, where we're going to be getting new operations more frequently, and it looks like the 50-tier Battle Pass thing is kind of done. Now, initial reception that I saw online, immediately I was like looking at Twitter, because I kind of planned on talking about this sooner, but I've been working really hard on a ranked tip video that just came out a few days ago. Put a ton of time into that video. Go check it out. Super proud of it. And hopefully you can at least laugh at my stupid like GIFs and images and stuff that I put in there. So I've sort of been reading Twitter the last few days, not talking about it just yet, and seeing a lot of takes from people saying, well, this is the end for Halo Infinite, or the beginning of the end. They're giving up, they're abandoning it, and they're shifting all their focus to a new Halo game. Because again, after Sketch shared about the content update shifts, he also shared that there is still a dedicated Halo Infinite team, but they are building a new team, a team that has been working on a new Halo project, and that's really exciting. Now, if you pay attention to like Halo YouTube, from like LinkedIn postings and all sorts of stuff, it's been the rumor that a new Halo game has been in development for like the last year and a half-ish, maybe a little longer, I'm not sure. So none of this seems like a huge shock, but I just want to at least, I could be totally wrong, but speculate here about a few things. Now, moving away from some of the live service vernacular, I think is awesome. I would much prefer getting content updates more frequently rather than having to wait for maybe features or new things to just be rolled into an arbitrary seasonal release. Sure, from a marketing standpoint, it's a lot easier if you batch everything into these big, 4-month launch windows. But as a player, I'd rather get a new map in the game when it's ready. I'd rather have more frequent small updates when they're ready. And I don't really care that much about cosmetics. They're not the reason that I play this game. It's nice to have, but I mean, not the reason that I play the game. I've seen a lot of takes from people saying, well, this means that's it. We need new Sandbox items and new vehicles and new equipment, all that stuff, and now it's not going to happen. Well, they didn't say any of that on the live stream, so just pump the brakes for a second. Option A, we probably will see that leaked like brute shotgun or whatever these items are at some point. I don't think those things are just going to hit the cutting room floor forever. Maybe they do, and that's option B, in which we don't see a new weapon coming or a new piece of equipment or whatever, or maybe it takes longer for that stuff to come in. I just am over here going, we need a new engine. And I think people have recognized this from the start. It seems like Slipspace is miserable to work in. And so I don't want to wait 6 or 7 years for a new Halo game. And the fact that we learned Microsoft has greenlit another Halo title is incredibly encouraging to me. I am stoked. I hope the team is going out there, building something in an engine that gives them flexibility. Jason Schreier last year said, hey, they're working in Unreal Engine 5. It's happening. I think as a player, that's really encouraging because some of the issues and the challenges I think with Infinite stem from the source Slipspace engine. And so for me, I'm like pumped, right on, go make a new game. I don't want to play Halo Infinite for the next 3 or 4 years. And for the people who are like really upset seeing maybe less support coming this year or inferring, this is all speculation, that there's going to be substantially less happening for Infinite moving forward. You could very well be correct, but I'm also on the team of like, sure, go make a better game that sticks the landing at launch and is in a much smoother engine that provides a bunch less jank. Now, the other element that I see, the apprehension, and it's we wait a long time for Halo games, or at least we have from like Halo 5 on to Infinite. I don't think we're waiting until like 2026 or 27 or 28 for a new Halo game. This is the first real 343 Halo game with the new leadership. And Pierre Hines killed it with Halo MCC. They did such a good job turning that project around. If you didn't play Halo MCC the years leading up into Halo Infinite, it is some of my favorite times with 343 Halo stuff. The content update model, like year and a half leading into Halo Infinite, was awesome. MCC was super cool, and I loved every one of those drops. And it didn't rely on the whole FOMO live service stuff. So I think Pierre is absolutely capable of putting together a Halo game that we're going to see in like 2025 or 2026. I'm going to stick with holiday 2025. I could be totally wrong, but I'm shooting my shot. They've got a really good set of blueprints to work off of here with Halo Infinite. I don't think they need to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to change the sandbox that much. They struck a great balance with the art style in Halo Infinite. They finally figured out, in my opinion, how to balance classic and modern in a way that wasn't ultra offensive to either of the two like zealot crowds, right? The diehards of each camp. Infinite managed to sort of split it in a way that I don't think really bothered most people. I think most people liked that sandbox. So don't reinvent the wheel. Keep it realistic. And I totally see us having a new multiplayer Halo in a few years. I think that is absolutely possible. I don't know about single player. If you need to do a staggered release, like launch your multiplayer and then have a campaign launch a little bit later when it's ready, do that, please. That would be amazing. You know what I mean? So I've just seen over the years plenty of Halo content creators saying, I wish we had a 3-year dev cycle the way Call of Duty does. Call of Duty creators get a new COD every single holiday. Yes, they're super iterative on one another. They're not like massively giant changes from one year to the next. And so in my mind, it's like, well, why not? Like, wouldn't that be great if we had a new Halo game, not once every 6 or 7 years, but a new Halo title every 3 or 4 years? Again, I don't know if that's even possible, and I'm starting to ramble here, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to poke at here, where there's a universe where we can push out a very realistic, accomplishable Halo game. I think one that doesn't bite off more than it needs to chew, right? When they were first saying, like, Halo Infinite is meant to be this 10-year game, I feel like it's the same thing with games that try and buy their way into a successful esport. You don't know if it's going to be super successful. You don't know if it's going to have the legs for 10 years, and just saying we've got the money to throw at it. Like Apex Legends, what is it saying? Like it's going to be a 15-year game or something like that? EA talks about that in the earnings calls, and it's like, bro, yeah, maybe there will be enough players for you guys to continue to put that kind of money in. So just make a good game for your audience, and let's see how it goes. You know what I mean? Now, the sandbox side of things, right? I understand people wanting new weapons and equipment and vehicles, and it's not off the table this year, but I would say it's less likely, right? It seems like they're scaling back. And for me, it is nice to have new sandbox items, don't get me wrong. But are you really going to say that you're going to play months and months and months more of Halo just because they added the brute shotgun? Maybe because they added a new vehicle? That's something that's going to get you to play than like more than just a few weeks? Because in my mind, a new weapon's cool. Don't get me wrong. I want to see those things. Railgun, please come back. I would love to see a grenade launcher. Like, would be sweet, but it's not the reason why I play the game, right? That wouldn't be something that is sticky enough to keep me playing for 3 or 4 months. So in my mind, like in an FPS game, especially like Halo, the main content that keeps me playing is frequent updates to make sure that the sandbox balance is good, the netcode is optimized, and maps. Maps are huge in FPS games. They absolutely determine like the flow of a match, And Forge does pretty darn well at this point. Like, yeah, I want more dev maps, but Forge could definitely carry this game for all I care. You know, we've already seen insanely good stuff coming out of Forge. For the people who want to complain about like the visuals of Forge, hey, I get it. They don't always look the nicest, but if you, I don't know, put Halo in comparison with these other FPS games, so many other scenes would kill for a map editor as good as Forge. You almost have infinite replayability because of Forge. And if 343 can quickly and effectively get the best maps into matchmaking, sweet. I mean, oftentimes it's the forgers who build the best maps anyway. So I'm just tired of people referring to content as just pure cosmetics, because if you're bummed that there's not a 50, tier set of cosmetic unlocks happening every 4 months, when you're going to be getting like 20 tier, little operation passes every 5 weeks, 4 weeks, however long the length is going to be there. I don't know. Those aren't the things that get me to play a bunch of this game. I want better netcode. And when they ran the networking test, I thought it was great. Yeah, they've got rough edges to figure out, and they talked about that in the live stream, but that is something that would get me to realistically play months and months and months more of Halo. If the integrity of the game was improved, stability, optimization, all those things, like an anti-cheat is phenomenal. Better netcode, which we know is coming, is huge. And I feel like them starting to ramp down Infinite as they build up momentum towards the next game, I'm just saying I'm on board with it. I go back to what I opened with. I don't want to see 2 or 3 or 4 more years of Halo Infinite, because the game at the core is just janky. That engine is just janky, and it seems like a pain to work with. I'm going to shift gears here just for a second, because like Optic Hex put out such a good quote years ago about kind of the responsibility of an audience for a game creating their scene. How you can foster player growth that's independent of relying on another organization. And where I'm going with all of this, let me just frame it. Halo Infinite was a huge bummer and missed opportunity. And it is okay, I think, as a Halo fan to be bummed that, like, we waited a long time. We got a game that had legs, but just didn't have the substance to last. It didn't have what it needed to capture and retain those players who all came back in droves when Infinite launched. And it's okay. Like, I am, as a lifelong Halo fan, right? I want to see this scene in the game succeed massively. So it is okay to be bittersweet and go like, okay, Infinite's winding down potentially as they start work on the next game. But one thing that I think has just been the case ever since Halo 4 is we all just love to blame things out of our control, especially when it comes to like the popularity of the Halo scene itself. And there's a quote from Optic Hex from years ago that I think is just so timely and spot on. So I'm going to read it. It's a long quote. I'll leave a link to a great article talking about kind of the downfall of competitive Halo, where this quote was referenced. So here's what Hex had to say a few years ago. Halo as a scene is still growing. It's not where it once used to be. I talk to the players, and the players say it's the developers' fault. But at the end of the day, it was their baby. It was their responsibility to make it happen. So when I hear about players, Halo players, complaining about the lack of viewership or the lack of interest, that's their fault. And I've told them that personally, so I'm not afraid to say it right now. And I've preached this concept to not just my Halo players, but also to the other players who I've met through the scene. It was their responsibility to get the fans. Nobody in the Halo industry, when it was going big and going strong, none of them except for Bravo and Campy, they took the time to make YouTube videos to generate an audience for themselves. And then from there, that audience would have translated to the seed. That's what happened in Call of Duty. When there was literally nothing on the circuit, when Call of Duty was shoved in a corner because Activision didn't give a rip, and MLG didn't give a rip, we made it work. We took what was there and made it a point to be entertaining and create content for you guys to be interested in the scene. With the storylines, what's happening here, we made it a point to talk about it. These guys, the Halo players, would go to an event and go home. And that's it. That was their job. So when Halo people talk about how they feel like they don't get enough support, like you had it for years, then you, as the players and the organizations, should have made something happen from it. And that is the end of the quote right there. And if you're unsure, he's talking about when Halo was popping off huge in the MLG days. There was very, very little content creation. The players themselves were focused on the tournament. And I still feel like this is pretty prevalent in Halo to this day. I think we are continually looking at things beyond our control to grow our game. Obviously, the quality of the game does matter. It does. But we are eating way better than we were during Halo 4 and early MCC days. We have so many more opportunities as a scene to grow. We have to be willing to create cool and compelling content, stuff that is fun, right? And if you would have told me in like the Halo 4 or Halo Reach days, like you've got a theater mode where you can run a tournament and live spectate, you could do so much. Like right now, there are so many tools and opportunities to make really cool, compelling content with this game. And I think it's on the scene in many ways to look back at itself and say, what can we do to grow without any help from the developer and the publisher? And this is where like the FGC crushes it. The fighting game community, especially if you look at like Melee or some of these older fighting games, they don't rely on the publisher or the developer to make their scene happen. They are putting in the work and the time to create the awesome content, the cool storylines, the great tournaments, and building up a scene that is completely unreliant on a big corporation or a new live service update. That's why I'm not super bummed when I hear that we're moving to content updates over seasons. Seasons don't save games, okay? They trick people into playing at a FOMO most of the time. Not always with Halo, but like so much of the live service stuff these days is just a FOMO trick to get you to grind for the $10 of cosmetics that you just bought. It's a $10 MAU where you're a number. You're one of their monthly active users, and you're there to fulfill a spreadsheet number. If you're playing the game because you love it, the cosmetics and things are just a bonus, but you're there for the game. So in the meantime, if this is a lighter year or two, as we're waiting for the next Halo game, or maybe it's longer, right? Play the game because you like it. I'm going to be playing more MCC again. I've been doing that. You know, MCC saw a player spike because of the Steam Winter Sale. There's new people over there. It's a lot of fun to still be had. Halo Infinite Ranked has been a ton of fun. That's mainly what I'm playing right now, and I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. Halo's been through a lot. It's been through a lot the last decade, man. And I've been making Halo videos now since like 2011, 2012. We're in a different place than we were. I'm feeling ridiculously optimistic, especially with the leadership changes. You know, Season 4 onward for Infinite was dialed. Imagine what they can do with a full standalone release. But this is definitely the year where I'm trying to just completely immerse myself in the idea of not worrying about the things outside of my control. You and I cannot impact the strategic decisions about when they release content or seasons or support or whatever, okay? All we can focus on are the things that we can control. And being upset about the stuff out of our control, I'm telling you, it is a waste of your time and energy. It's going to be a huge drain. So skip it. Immerse yourself in the stuff that you like. Always share your feedback. Be constructive with it. And that's the path right there. And obviously, if we get a few months into the content update cycles and it's not, you know, working or we're not feeling it, then the scene can communicate about it. But for right now, let's just wait and see. It's kind of where I'm at. All right, I'm going to do the same thing. If you made it to the end of this very long podcast style video, drop in the comments the word arbiter, like the pirate. Arby the arbiter. Yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you all have a phenomenal rest of your week and a good day. We'll see you again very, very soon.